So I took a little break in between there and paused the video to allow this to dry a little bit so you can see some of the top dots go on. We could go ahead and put some top dots on these because it is dry, and then when we get that done we'll continue out. So we are going to use the GreenTea on our Baltic Amber, and we are going to use the Poinsetta on our Mayan Gold. So whatever tool we used before, we have to go down a size, sometimes maybe 2. And remember, we are using Colourarte, PrizmPour, and primary elements. And the primary elements has to be mixed with 2 ounces of vivid enamel into these cups with about 1/8 of a scoop of the primary elements. So I believe we used a 3 on the center. So let me see, it might have been a 4. It looks like it's a 4. I'm going to take it down to a 2 because I want the dot to be pretty small. Smaller than the one before it, for sure. So we're going to start with our GreenTea. Just give it a stir, making sure we stir up that bottom so all the glitter and the shimmer comes out and mixes in. It's been sitting, so we just kind of activate it a little bit more. And this is the color it is in the jar. These are 15 milliliter jars. As you can see, this paint is going to, this dry pigment will last quite a while. So it's well worth the investment. It will last a lot longer than these. Because if you figure, these are 2 ounces. And you know what? I'm sorry. I said you needed 2 ounces of this. It's a 1/2 ounce. Not 2 ounces. I was mistaken. But these bottles are 2 fluid ounces, and they just, this stretches a lot further. The primary elements. Alright, so load your tool and lay your first dot as close to the center as you can get it. Go all the way around. I don't really like the way this dot laid down, so I'm going to take it off and do it again. It was a little bit off center. So instead of staying with this color and, you know, moving to the next Baltic Amber, I risk putting my hand in the paint by trying to carry all the top dots out. So we're just going to do this one color at a time. Sorry about that. Guess I got up earlier before my alarm. Here is the PrizmPour Poinsettia. Very, very pretty color. Let me show you what it looks like coming out of the bottle. That way you get a little bit of a close-up of how rich, shiny, metallic-y that looks. And how the paint just kind of does its own fluid thing. So beautiful. So that was a 2. We are going to move up to a 3 for the next row of dots. We need to stir this paint. It hasn't been stirred this morning. Get our number 3 tool. Flip the end over. Stir it real good. Wipe off our toothpick. Get as close to the center as you can. A lot of the reason I picked up dotting is because I didn't have a hobby, and I have peripheral neuropathy in my hands, legs, and feet, and I don't take pain medicine for it. I am self-treated at home with aromatherapy products and creams that I make, and having this hobby helps me forget about the pain. So it's my form of meditation, and it also helps bring mindfulness. Into your life, because it allows you to be alone with your thoughts, and it's a beautiful process. It helps distract you from pain that you may or may not be in. So now we are going back to green tea, and we're going up to a number 4. You might hear the cat chirping. She's in a very playful mood this morning. We have 2, a brother and sister. They were adopted from the shelter. Okay, so that was the number 4. Now we're going up to the number 5, and we're going back to red, the poinsettia. One of the nice things about this paint is the way it just lays. It fills itself in round and perfectly. There is usually no peaks. I haven't seen one yet, and I've been using it for probably 3 weeks now. And every time a dot lays, it just lays beautifully. I see this dot, I've got too much going towards the outer side, so I'm going to take it off and redo it. I just didn't like the way I laid it down. you always reload your tool unless you are walking the dots. And we do not really walk the dots in this piece that I'm doing, but I will give you an example of walking the dots real quick. So I have a number 5. You just load your tool and you dot, dot, dot. Well, this one is not a very good example because I didn't put enough paint on it. But as you can see, the size will go down as you keep dotting. So you're essentially just taking the paint off the dotting tool. But I'm sure there'll be more instructions and videos to come on how to do that. Now we're going to number 6 and going back to the GreenTea. As close to the center as you can get it. Not quite as full, so I need to put some more paint on that. As you can see, the top dots go a little faster than the first layer of dots because your dots are already down. You're just going back in and giving it depth. This one's, I was like, I didn't put that one down enough. There we go. Now we're going back to the Poinsetta with a 7. And this is where I was telling you if I went and did all one color, I would put my hands in the dots. Sometimes I learn from my mistakes because I have done it probably 1,000 times. But there's usually always a way to fix it. Now we are going to go back down in size because we have some smaller dots here and it looks like it's going to be pretty tiny. So let me see. Probably a number 2. Continuing on with the Poinsettia. And again, this one is turning out a little bit differently because we ended up going towards the center more than we did on the other album. The other album clock was more or less a test subject. That was the first time using the Colourarte on a big piece. And I had a company here at the time, so I couldn't record it. But we're doing our best to try to replicate it. Some people like to take the lazy approach and not reload their tool every time they dot, and you will find by doing so your dots are not uniform. Okay, so I am going to continue with the Poinsettia red on these Mayan gold dots in between, and then we'll finish with the GreenTea. So I just need to figure out what size dot that is. I want to say we want to use a 5. Excuse me. Yep. That was the lucky number. Oh, let me change this. There you go. That one came out really big. After using this paint, I don't think I will go with another paint ever again. I have tried many in my journey. We also acrylic pour on occasion, and this paint is fabulous for that. A little bit different of a mixture that you have to make, but it's still comes out extremely, just so much better than the other paints I was using. Now I think we're going to go with a number 6 and go back to the Poinsettia green. This is our last ring of color top dots. And I will say the paint dries really quickly. I can go ahead and put my lid back on this because we'll have to go back to gold and the Mayan gold and the Baltic amber to finish out making the bottom dots. I think we're going to do the 7 first, because this dot is bigger than the outer dots. we're going to go back to a 6. And be very careful not to lay our hands down in the paint. I know Colourarte just redesigned their website and they have a new product line coming out. I'm excited to see that. New year, new them, right? They color my world, that's for sure. Alright, so I'm going to bring this up for a close-up so you can see how beautiful it is, and try not to drop it because that has been known to happen. And give you a little angle view so you can see how the dots look on the surface. How they have a 3D dimensional look. And how shimmery they are, and how the light just bounces off of it. It's beautiful. And so now we're going to try and figure out what we're going to lay down next, and take our sip of our coffee and contemplate that. Best part of waking up is coffee and mandalas in your cup. That PrizmPour pre-ordering event ends January 14th, 2022, and the name of the new color line is Pure Radiance, Warm Tones and Cool Tones. You purchase all 12 colors and you receive a free bottle of French silk. And I'll show you a picture. Look how pretty those colors are. Looks like there's going to be some neons. Well, vibrant colors. I'm not sure they're neons, but they're beautiful regardless. All right, so we're going back to the Mayan Gold PrizmPour, and we're going back to the Baltic Amber PrizmPour to lay our dots down. So let's see. I want to put bigger dots here. I'm going to start with actually, we're going to reverse the order this time. We're actually going back to the GreenTea and Poinsetta because I want to lay the darker color down and then put the lighter color on top. Let's see. Just trying to figure out which color we want to start with. I think I'm going to do a solid ring of red, solid ring of green. Okay. I'm going to do bigger dots. I just want to figure out what size that's going to be. I think it's going to be a 10. I want to go outside this line, this center line. Number. Oh, I forgot to put my number down. It's definitely a good thing I have an audience around me right now, helping me remember things. So this time we're going to turn the piece because, again, stretching across, you're going to risk putting your hands in the paint. And with all the hard work you're putting in, you do not want to do that. So if you learn to rotate your piece as you work, chances of you putting your hands in your paint diminish quite a bit. And I'm going to show you this. As you can see, there's the first dot I laid and how the color just fills itself in. You can see a little, like the later dots that I did, you can see a little peak. But again, the paint automatically evens itself out all the way around. Whereas your folk art paint or your deco art paint, I always have this little bubble that stays even when it dries. This art, I'm not experiencing that. Or this paint, I'm not experiencing that. See this? You don't see any of those dimples or peaks in this piece. It's all well rounded and full. I do have a full-time job. I don't do this for a living. I do this sometimes in the morning before I go to work. I'll even get up early sometimes to do it. because I find that it just puts me in a really good frame of mind. And most of the time in the evenings and on the weekends, this is where you can find me, in my own little space, creating. We do a few craft bazaars here and there. We did like 2 this year during the holidays. That was our first time. That was fun. You can sell your art. And I do have a few pieces in a consignment shop here in town. So there are different ways to get your art out there. We live in a small town, so I'm always posting things to the town group. Sometimes I'll hide rocks for people to find, just to try to promote myself a little bit. It's good ways to do that. Alright, so the poinsettia is done for now, but I still want to keep the lid kind of loose. We're moving on to the green, and we're going to go up a size to 11. So when we come back in, we're going to take the Mayan gold and go on top of the red, and we're going to take the Baltic amber and go on top of the green, just to give it some contrast. I think I might have just put my finger in my paint. Nope, I was safe. Sometimes when you hold your tool like this and this finger right here, if you're not careful, you'll put it down in your paint. I'm notorious for putting my fingers in my paint. As you can see, I've got all kinds of stuff on my fingers. Luckily, I know how to fix it. Q-tip, water will be your saving grace. Oh my goodness, how rich that green is against that black. Very gorgeous. I'm just trying to use these grid lines here, the natural lines in the record, to keep me in a good circular pattern. There's many tools on Amazon, many stencils that you can use to create grid lines and make your pieces more symmetrical. Remember, if you like what you see, remember to click those buttons below. Like, share, and subscribe. Helps support this channel so we can keep going and creating wonderful things for you. Some people don't like negative space. I'm usually okay with negative space. And by negative space, I mean like this space in between these red and green dots. That doesn't bother me, because when the piece is completely finished, it's really nice to kind of see a little bit of the background. And this little jar here that I have water in is just a Dickinson's jelly jar that I got when I went to have breakfast one time. Had jam or jelly in it, I'm not sure which, but it works perfectly. And that water lasts me quite a while. Our green dots are down. I need to look at it because it looks a little off somewhere. I just got to figure out where it looks off. So in order to do that, I'm going to pick it up and kind of look at it, turn it around. It looks like I started getting farther away, about right here. So I'm going to fix it because I just can't take it. So this time I'm going to use my towel to kind of swipe them backwards, and then I'll go back with the Q-tip and get the rest off, because I have a lot of dots to swipe out. They're just too far away from the red, and that's what made it look weird. And that will happen but if I didn't show you how to fix it, you wouldn't know how. I mean, I'm sure you'd probably figure it out, but it's always nice to have somebody give you pointers as you go. One's a little far off too. Okay, so now we're gonna set this towel to the side because I have a lot of those little dots and it will get all over my hands, and then I'll get it on my paint. So we'll get a fresh towel. Now we're gonna take our Q-tip with some water and just kind of try to get rid of those dot lines. Towel just to go back in and kind of make sure I got them. Try not to disrupt that red ring of dots. Otherwise we'd have another problem. Oh, I almost messed that up. Oh, that was close. Sometimes in the outer layer of the record where the actual needle hits the record, sometimes the paint will get down in there and you have a hard time getting it out, but no worry, you're going to be covering up that space anyway, so chances are you won't even know that it's there once you're done. Because this paint has got a little bit of a shimmer in it, well, a lot of a shimmer in it, not just a little bit, a lot, which is nice. Sometimes that shimmer will get stuck down in there and you'll see it, but don't fret. And if you have cats, always watch out for cat hair. So I'm going to go ahead and take this dot off because I touched it, and you know, and because it's in the right place, I don't have to worry about getting that ring off so much. So we will finish this ring of dots, and then we'll move on to the next phase. So I was using a number 11. Now we're going to try and fix these. And if you cut your towels for dotting like we do, we just take old dish towels and we cut them. Sometimes you have to watch for the fibers to fall off into the paint. So if you're wiping off your tool, try to wipe it away from your piece. Now they're looking better. You see this right here, you can kind of see where that shimmer fell down into the crack, but again, don't worry about it, you're going to end up covering it up anyway. Now that looks better. All right. I'm bringing you up for a close-up again. Make sure I don't drop my piece.